Okay, so welcome to my pantry. If you are new here, you might not know, but I converted a spare room of our house that was right off of the kitchen into a pantry. Actually, this was a dining room, living room slash setup when we first moved in, and we actually put a wall in, made this into a small spare bedroom, and then as time went on, we realized that this would make the perfect walk-in pantry off of our kitchen. So if you have a spare room in your house that you're not using, or you can consolidate children and get a spare room in your house set aside as a pantry room, I highly recommend it. It has been a total game changer for us, because what we did was we essentially moved all of the food that is in our whole house into this room, and it just makes like a grocery store type, old-fashioned country store type room that I can walk into, and I can have visual inventory immediately of everything that we have on hand. It's really great for food management. So I had a goal this year to work towards filling up this pantry, and what I did was I went on to the letters easy prepping.net, and I tried to work on some numbers there just to kind of start to wrap my mind around the amount of food storage that we would need for a family our size to build up to a 1-year food supply. We are nowhere close to a 1-year food supply yet, but we plan on moving towards that. Also, on top of that, we are striving to be more self-sufficient in our food, so there is an element of that also in our food storage and pantry. So what I did was, the first thing you need to do is establish an area that is going to be your pantry. If you are new to prepping, if you're brand new to prepping, the first thing you have to do is set up and designate an area. It can be an extra closet, it can be an extra room, it could be area underneath of your kitchen table that you're going to make some shelving under it. Wherever that's going to be, designate your area and then build from there. So this was the first thing I did, and then I had a lot of shelving that was left here in the house. So all the shelving that you see was shelving that this house came with, so I was super blessed with that. So the next thing that I had to do was get all of my canning jars, because if you're planning to can for your food storage, which we are, then you need somewhere to put that food into. So I got my canning jars. That was quite the feat last year, and moving into this year, canning jars became scarce again in this area. So I have pretty much gotten the amount of canning jars that I want for this year. Next year, my goal, as you can see, I'm kind of already visually preparing myself for it, but next year I would like to put some cardboard in between these and have a double stack. So this year, this holds 900 quart jars is what this food storage pantry here holds, is 900 quart jars. I would like, going into next year, to go ahead and work towards the goal of doubling that, and I think that would be a really great number for our family. If we could double that 900 quart jars. So in order to do that, I'm saving some really nice cardboard boxes here, and also my boxes that my canning jars come in. It's just a really handy tip to just go ahead and save those boxes, and then you can go ahead and double stack your canning jars. So that's what we're doing. My goals and things for my pantry have kind of shifted and changed as I reprioritize as this year moves on. 2021 has been a different year yet again for everyone, so it really helps me to stay focused and tuned in on what exactly our family needs in our pantry. So starting out, I had designated this shelf right here. My goal was to get this filled up with bone broth slash that could be beef broth, or it could be chicken broth, or we do have ducks and other poultry, so any type of broth would be here on this shelf. I have now expanded that goal just because I see the need for more protein for our family. So now my new goal is to fill this one up with beef broth, and then this shelf will be just our poultry broth, mainly chicken broth. So how I'm working towards doing that is that when we have a chicken, what we usually do is I take the chicken whole. If you have an Instapot, it's great. If not, you can do this on the stovetop in a big pot, or you could do it in a slow cooker as well. I just take the whole chicken and I cover it with water, and as much broth as I'm wanting to can is how much water I put in there. I add in all my seasonings and I let that baby cook, and then we go ahead and enjoy that chicken for that dinner that night. I'll even ladle out some of that broth and make up gravy, and we'll really enjoy it. We'll have chicken and mashed potatoes and gravy, or mashed potatoes and biscuits and gravy, and it's really, really awesome. We have a great meal. And then with that extra broth, what I do is I go ahead and put that in jars and I can that up. Generally, that leaves us over with about 5-quart jars of broth. At that point, what I do is I take off all the extra scraps off of the chicken, and then I put those bones back into that same pot. I refill it all the way up with water, and I let that cook. In an Instapot, you can do that in 2 hours. I like to do 3 hours in the Instapot just to be sure I'm getting all of the goodness out. So I cook that on high pressure for 3 hours, and then I take all of that out and I can that up and make that into our bone broth. Generally, that gives me about 5 more quart jars of bone broth. So you're talking 5 jars of chicken broth and then 5 jars of chicken bone broth just from one bird. Anybody can do that. You can do that with a store-bought chicken as well. It's just a great way to stretch your budget, to stretch your protein, especially if you're prepping or you're just trying to establish a food pantry for your family. It's just an excellent hack for getting some broth on the shelves. And what I've also incorporated into our weekly meals is that I will just have gravy and biscuits sometimes. Sometimes we'll just have gravy over rice or gravy over mashed potatoes, just omitting the meat out of that meal, but just doing, instead of just doing a clear bone broth, I'll just go ahead and make it up into gravy. Everybody loves gravy all the time, and it just makes a good hearty meal, and really nobody complains that the meat is missing a couple days a week. And it's really a great way, again, to stretch your food supply. So that has been the plan. That's what we're doing to can up our chicken. And our beef, we do exactly the same way. Whatever it is, even if it's just ground beef, it doesn't have to have bones in it. I just go ahead and I do it the same way, covering it with lots of water, as much water as I want that broth to be. Season it up however you want. And you know what? If it's a little more watery than you would prefer, oh well, when you're hungry, you're gonna be appreciating that. And you can always thicken it up with a flour and make it into a gravy. And honestly, flour and seasonings, even though it's a weaker or thinner broth, if you stretched it a little further than you normally would, that's okay. Nobody's gonna complain. When you're hungry, you put it over biscuits, put it over mashed potatoes, it'll be epic. You will not have any complaints, I promise you. So again, that is our goal. We're gonna have this one beef, this one poultry broths, and then this one is, my plan with this one is to make it all potatoes. We go through a lot of potatoes in our family. It's a good starch. It stretches most meals. And last year there was a little time of shortage of potatoes at the grocery store. We are gonna have a lot of sweet potatoes this year. Sweet potatoes store all winter just totally fine. We won't have to can them unless if we just want to. But what I'm planning on canning is our white potatoes. And Honestly, guys, even though we grew our own potatoes this year and we canned them up, I am just procuring more potatoes every time I go to the grocery store or do an order. I just go ahead and get a couple more bags of potatoes. You can even get those big giant 10-pound bags of potatoes for a really great deal, and then peel them up and throw them into some jars, and make sure you're following a good recipe for canning, so you don't want to throw your food away. I recommend the Ball canning book. It is tried and true, tested. Follow the instructions. Don't get creative like I did a couple years ago. Just follow the instructions, and safety first when you're canning. But that is my goal right here, is just to keep just adding to that every week, just adding a couple more bags of potatoes, canning them up, and getting them on the shelf, and getting them just stored away for times where we might need it. Or, you know, if we lose power or a storm comes through, we can open a can of potatoes, we can fry them up with some beef, put some gravy over them. These are like ready to go fast meals that are just convenience meals as well. Another thing that I'm planning on canning this year is a lot more salsa. We go through a lot of salsa in our house. You can add it to baked potatoes or different dishes, and it just really just adds a whole new element to it. I did not grow enough tomatoes this year to do it all on my own tomato harvest. I still have tomatoes that I'm pulling out of the freezer and going ahead and processing them, making them into salsa, but I went ahead and got I stocked up on some diced tomatoes. I got these are organic, and they came in at like, I think like 80 cents a pound if I did my math right. Way less than $1 a pound for these organic, non-GMO, diced up tomatoes. They are already canned, so you could just use them like this and make your salsa up as needed. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and take them out of the cans, and I'm just going to go ahead and make up my salsa and put them in my own jars. So it's just more convenient. Salsa nights, you just want to dump it out and have it. I don't really want to have to go through the fuss of making it, but you could do that if you enjoy making your salsa fresh. So anyway, the whole trick of this is to price it out. If I was not... I had to think outside of the box for this one, because if I was thinking inside the box, I just would have went to the grocery store, found the cheapest tomatoes that I could find, and then brought them home, processed them all, and canned them up. But for our salsa, but this actually came out to be a way better price per pound to do it this way. And all I'm looking for, guys, is to stock my pantry. I'm not looking to like win any awards at the county fair for canned salsa. So price it out. A lot of times stuff that is already food that is already canned up might be your better deal. And especially if you're just trying to stock a pantry and you don't have access to all these canning jars, or you don't have the money to put into all the canning jars like I didn't years ago when I started out, the better bet that makes more sense is to buy food that's already canned. So if it makes sense to buy food that's already canned and already in jars, do that. At least you can get your pantries filled up, and don't worry about being a canning or pantry purist at this point. Just do what you have to do, price everything out, get the best deal, and get your pantry stocked up. That's the most important thing. Down here we have all of our green beans from our garden, and I have some kale that we also canned up this year. Up here I have some pear butter and some pear pie. This is my pear butter. This is my pear pie filling. This is more pear butter up here. My pear butter doubles as a substitute for canned pumpkin. So last year, what I found out, because you also could not find canned pumpkin anywhere last year, so what I found out last year is that I had canned pear butter, and if I opened up a can of a jar of our canned pear butter, I could substitute that just 1-for-1 equal amounts as I would use canned pumpkin, And if you season it like you would season or spice your pumpkin bread, it makes fabulous, fabulous. Actually, it's pear butter bread, but nobody's gonna know the difference. They're all gonna think it's pumpkin bread, and it'll be just fine. And your fall will be just as normal as possible, even if the whole world is going crazy. You'll have your pumpkin bread this fall. So that's what I was thinking. We love our pear butter to put it on toast or bagels and things like that. But I was also thinking just go ahead and make a lot of these pears up into pear butter so I could substitute it as pumpkin. Substitute it as canned pumpkin. Over here I have some soups canned up, and I have some salsa. It kind of goes back pretty deep. I have some elderberry. The peaches were from Aldi's, and they were running a sale on peaches because they were in season, and they were like less than $1 a pound. So I stocked up. I got a whole bunch of them, and I jarred up the peaches, and that'll just be really good to just put on oatmeal in the mornings, or you could put some on ice cream or make a peach cobbler or something like that. This is our elderberry syrup from a couple years ago. Over here is our, oh, these are more peaches. I'm sorry. These are pears. These are pears. That's why it's important to label your jars, y'all. These are pears, and these beautiful things are peaches. These are peaches. And I took some advice from my sweet friend in Ohio who you guys met a few videos back, and she said she does not skin her peaches, she just cans them with the skins on. And remember, when you're opening up your jars, that all of your good ingredients, or all of your good vitamins, are in the canning process. They're in your jars. So if you're opening up a thing of potatoes, you don't really want to rinse off these potatoes. You would rather, like if they're like these where they're a little bit more cloudy kind of potatoes, just go ahead and make those ones into mashed potatoes or something. But all of your nutrients and all of your vitamins are in that water. They're in that liquid in that jar. So you don't want to rinse that off, because then you're gonna have like a vitamin deficient food, and that's not what you want to do for your family. So anyway, I guess that's pretty much it. This is where I am with our canning. It might not be great, but we are just coming out of the summer. We're just getting into the fall months, and canning has honestly been my hobby. It's very, very therapeutic. It's wonderful at the end of the day that even if you just did 5 jars just to put them in the pantry, and you know what? You did something, and you got something accomplished that day as a long-term goal towards your family and feeding your family. So I plan to go ahead and, like I said, keep doing more salsa, keep doing more pears, keep doing more fruit as I see it go on sale at the grocery store. I'll just go ahead and can that up, and keep doing my broths and my potatoes, and I think we'll be good to go. We could be sustained on that. As well as out in my garden, I'm going to be going ahead and having like a little mini greenhouse for all of my greens and everything through the winter. So we'll have all of our kales and our cold hardy stuff that will be our vegetables to do our little mixed salad. And that's pretty much it, guys. Just trying to keep it really, really simple. You don't need to prep for everything. Just pick a few things that you can really hone in on and that are really specific for your family's needs, and do that. Just do what you can where you're at with what you have. And I hope y'all enjoyed today. I certainly enjoy so much sharing our family with you, and I enjoy interacting with you guys as I hear from you in the comments, or if you email me personally. It's just a blessing to know that there's other families out there that are trying to do what we're doing in some way, and we're all learning from each other. So I hope you all have a great day, and until next time, we'll see you right back here. Bye, guys.